Hi everyone, Lior is here, and today we are announcing ArcBox for DataOps. I have Seif with me. Stay tuned. Hi everyone, Lior is here with another Jumpstart Lightning episode. This is a special edition of this Jumpstart Lightning. I have Seif with me. Seif, today we're announcing ArcBox for DataOps, but first thing first, who you are and what is it that you do?
My name is Seif Bassem. I'm a cloud solution architect at Microsoft, and I'm also the lead engineer for ArcBox for DataOps. And I'm so excited to represent the team and show the great work that we've been doing for the past couple of months.
Definitely. Seif, you've been part of the Jumpstart team for, I think, forever at this point. That's how it feels, at least. I know it's been a few months, but already starting to see a lot of things, a lot of cool things that you are leading. And obviously, the Jumpstart team is behind us. So, Seif, today we are announcing something new. We're announcing ArcBox for DataOps. It's the new flavor for ArcBox. Before we're diving into we have some slides. We want to show a demo. But before that, talk to me for a second about the experience of developing such a complex solution. I want to say such a elegant solution for a complex problem. So talk to me about that for a second.
Yes, definitely, Lior. And Arc for data services is a very cool solution, and it's very complex as well. There are lots of moving parts. Obviously, Kubernetes and then data services land on top of on top of those Arc-enabled Kubernetes clusters. There are lots and lots of capabilities, and I'm going to show you in a minute. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it very easy for everyone to experience data services on Arc with just having an Azure subscription. It's just a matter of a couple of clicks, and you have a full-blown environment with all of the capabilities that you can play with.
Very cool. So before diving into the weeds of the actual architecture and everything, let's just recap for a second. What is ArcBox is all about?
Yeah, so ArcBox is a sandbox environment for Azure Arc. So it's a couple of things. If you're planning to work with Azure Arc, there are lots of services, and you would like to test different services, and you'd need to have some experience with those services. So what ArcBox is, it's an accelerator to help you get the sandbox environment, to help you do proof of concepts and demos very quickly with just a couple of clicks. And also, it's a great environment for presentations or events. Today, we're very happy to show you a new flavor of ArcBox with a lot of new toys we have in store for you.
So I think that the last flavor that we released was back in May. It was the Build conference. Obviously, this week is Ignite, and we're announcing the new flavor. But before we're talking about the future, let's talk about the past first. What is it that we have right now?
Sure. So as you mentioned, we have about 3 flavors till now. We have the full, which is the original ArcBox, which has absolutely everything: Arc-enabled servers, Kubernetes, and also some flavor of data services. We also have IT Pros, which is focusing on Arc-enabled servers, and the most recent one, which is DevOps, which is focused on Arc-enabled Kubernetes. And as you can see, we're trying to make it a light version for each specialization or each Arc service to make it easier for our users to start playing around with it.
Definitely. So say if we're developing ArcBox kind of the same way, every time that we're coming up with a new flavor, we're developing that in the same way. So I think that let's just talk about DataOps. What DataOps is all about?
Yes, definitely. And so ArcBox for DataOps is mainly focused on Azure Arc-enabled SQL managed instance. And as you can see, there are lots and lots of features and capabilities that Arc-enabled SQL managed instance provide. And we're trying to give you toys to experience every feature of Arc-enabled SQL managed instance. So as you can see, lots of things to demonstrate.
Mm-hmm. So, say if I want to ask you, what is because this is a huge bucket list of features, of goodies, of things that we baked into ArcBox for DataOps. What is the one thing that you are most excited about when it comes to this implementation?
Yeah, it's very hard to choose. All of them are very cool features, but the one that really stands out, given its complexity in architecture, not in implementation, is disaster recovery. And it was a challenge to add this to ArcBox because you need to have two different clusters in two different sites, and you would demonstrate applications and database failover. We would demonstrate Active Directory authentication, and so it has it encapsulates most of the capabilities in just one playbook or one demo experience.
The the richness of this flavor of RBox is really impressive. Like you mentioned, there are so many things when it comes to Azure Arc enabled data services, specifically with SQL managed instance, which is what this flavor is all about. How does the architecture look like? I mean, what's the moving pieces there that our users, our customers, our partners want to think about?
Sure. So as I mentioned, so ArcBox is just a couple of clicks, and once you try out DataOps, this is what you get. And as you can see, it's very complex in terms of architecture. We deploy a domain controller, and we start setting up 3 different clusters. So we use AKS and we use Cluster API to just demonstrate how agnostic data services is. And as you can see, we're simulating having 2 different sites, so a primary site and a disaster recovery site. And we start deploying Arc-enabled SQL managed instance on all of those clusters. And as you can see, with this architecture, we're trying to simulate a real life scenario where customers would have a DR scenario. They would have a domain controller to control RBAC and to control access to their SQL managed instance. And on top of that, you would see the Azure services that come into play on top of Azure Arc.
So disaster recovery, Active Directory integration, backup and restore, a sample application, and a management unified layer on top of that. That's really what we're providing here. I think that again, obviously knowing the solution very closely, I know that how impressive it is. I want to see a demo of that. But let me just kind of make a comment here, Seif, and I'm sure that you will agree with me. I think that I've seen a lot of solutions coming and going when it comes to things that try to automate, try to simulate a certain customer scenario, a certain use case. I really think it's the first time I'm seeing a solution that really simulates a DR scenario that is fully automated, fully baked in a sandbox environment. So you will not have to compromise your own infrastructure, your own production IT assets.
Yes, I totally agree, and we're not only doing so, but we're also adding an application on top of that, so that you're not only failing over the database tier, but you're also failing over the application tier with the database. So it's a real life scenario, but again, it's a couple of clicks. All you need is your Azure subscription, and you can experience all of this.
Super impressive. Show me that in action.
Sure. So let me jump into, this is a full-blown deployed ArcBox deployment. As you can see, we have lots of tools that are already available for you to test and explore. So a couple of things that you would get is, as you can see, you have Grafana deployed, so you can start exploring lots of built-in dashboards for Azure Arc-enabled SQL managed instance. And we also have in store a tool that gets installed to generate CPU usage, so that you can see in real time how SQL managed instance reacts in reaction to CPU load. You can also see the Azure Data Studio, so the tools that most of our customers use to interact with their databases. So you can see we have all of our clusters here. So here, for example, you would see the distributed availability group between the primary site and the DR site. We also have a very cool scenario where we have a Windows SQL Server instance, and we're gonna guide you in our README into migrating to Azure SQL Managed Instance, and we give you steps and in order to do that. And also, you can see that we have the SQL Server managed, the SQL Server Studio, where lots of our customers are using this. And as you mentioned, we're using Active Directory since we're deploying a domain controller, so I can log in using my Windows authentication and interact with my databases in the Azure Arc-enabled SQL managed instance.
That's very impressive. And it's not just, again, I think I left that out, but it's also a migration scenario that we're covering, like you mentioned, with the SQL server that gets deployed. That's super awesome. So obviously, in the description below, we're going to have all the details on how do you can go and start working with ArcBox DataOps. Seif, how long a user should expect for the deployment to finish end to end?
Yeah, so it's as you can see, it's a beefy solution. So it takes about an hour and maybe an hour 20 minutes full end to end with the automation as well. But after waiting for this, it's totally worth the time. You're gonna get a full blown environment to play with.
So go, kick off the automation, grab some coffee, and come back to enjoy.
Yes.
The full richness of ArcBox DataOps. Thanks for the quick demo, and obviously all the details are going to be shared in the description down below, so you can check it out. Seif, one thing that we're also announcing at this Ignite is the Azure Arc-enabled SQL managed instance landing zone accelerator. And in the previous accelerator that we released back in build for Arc-enabled Kubernetes, we also released the new flavor for ArcBox for DevOps back then in May. Do we have the same relationship going on right now with the accelerator, for the new accelerator in DataOps? How does that look like?
Yes, let me demonstrate. So as you mentioned, we have the landing zone accelerator for Azure Arc-enabled SQL managed instance. And in this landing zone, we're talking about the different aspects you would need to consider and the recommendations that we have. But we're also, as with any landing zone accelerator, we have a reference implementation. And like like Kubernetes and like servers, ArcBox for DataOps is the reference implementation and sandbox environment for this landing zone accelerator. So you have the guidance, you have the recommendations, and then you have the reference implementation that you can deploy and explore.
Yeah, well, and there is also a dedicated recording I did with Thomas Mauer on the enablement show. We'll make sure to link to that when we're explaining everything that's got to do with the new landing zone accelerator, and obviously the relationship, or more emphasize on the relationship with ArcBox for DataOps. Seif, thanks for the demo. Thanks for walking me through the announcement and everything that we're doing around ArcBox. And I want to say thank you for all the awesome work that you and the rest of the team are doing for the community with Jumpstart and ArcBox for DataOps. So to wrap things up, Seif, how do you see what's the best way for our users to reach out to us, to ask us questions, open issues? What's the best way?
So I would say GitHub is the best way. Tag us there, open issues. If you have any suggestions, we have discussions in our GitHub repo. So use all of those tools, and you're going to find us there.
Obviously, we're going to share everything in the description below. Seif, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Lior. Happy to be here again.
And for the Jumpstart audience, thank you so much for staying tuned. And I hope you are enjoying all the recordings and the videos that we're uploading to share with you all the knowledge. You stay until now, so give us a like, subscribe, make sure that you're checking the description, and let us know in the comments below. What is it that you want us to review next? What is the next thing that you want us to develop? Make sure to leave a comment. It helps the channel grow, and it also helps us to bring more knowledge to you. So we appreciate that. Seif, again, thank you so much. And for the Jumpstart audience, we're going to see you next time. Bye, everyone.